one thing led to another, but one thing we really didn't want to do was cancel on you guys. So we really appreciate you being here. We have, in fact, rescheduled the space that was due for today with Congressman Zach Nunn, and we've rescheduled that for Monday at 1 p.m. ET. So great to see you there. Marshall's going to be on there. I reckon turn the tunes off, Jackie. I thought that would have been a good idea, but it's distracting. I was like, whoa. So we've rescheduled the space for Monday. It's going to be happening at 1 p.m. We would love to see you all there. I think as well, it gives us the weekend to share with friends and family too. And anyone that you think might be interested in hearing a very, very fantastic conversation between Marshall, obviously CEO and founder of Metallicus. And I think Marshall is grinding away at the minute, so I won't invite him up right now, but they've obviously got quite a lot going on, which I think we're going to touch about, but hopefully he might hop on later to speak with you all. Then with John Ainsworth from Bonify, a company that we have got some very exciting news to share with you on that part as well. And then Congressman Zach Nunn. And Zach very, very kindly filled in after we had to reschedule the spaces with Kyle Houtman. They are still going to happen. They're going to be very exciting. We're going to plan for those in the new year. I think it was quite ambitious trying to do so many interviews towards the end of the year. And Metallicus, as always, have got an unbelievable amount of stuff going on. But, sometimes I think, Paul, back to your point about victim of our own success, I think everyone has just kind of hit us all at once recently. And we've really just hit this beautiful bottleneck of where all of these fantastic things are happening. So we are here today to give you a little bit of an overview of what we've been working on. We've got a big announcement to kick it off, which we're going to go through. And then Jackie is going to ask a few questions. And for those of you that want to stick around and keep listening to that, then would very much like you to. So if that's all cool with you, Jackie, Paul, feel free to jump in at any place. So we'll get this kicked off.
Well, I've definitely put together some questions because I'm from the DGen Hoopers network, and we wanted to do kind of an interview with either you or Marshall or Paul, people from the team, because we like to add a little bit of character, a little bit of personality. So if I could roll into some questions, I've got some good ones here. One of my first questions, and this will keep it casual, is I want to know, obviously you guys, the Metallicus team, you guys are slammed. There's a lot going on 24/7. How are things going? I mean, how has life been right now during the bull run for Metallicus?
Yeah, I mean, it's been fantastic. One thing, I'll probably say is that I think, market cycles aren't really a thing that play into the way that we work at Metallicus. Marshall has obviously been in this industry since 2009. I think, Paul has been in since forever. I think I'm coming up to 4 years now. And you really just can't put that emotion into this at all. It's very distracting, I think, as well, especially when you have assets that are connected to, I wouldn't necessarily success is the right word, but to performance and things. It can be distracting. So it's very important to just kind of focus on the mission at hand and very much the end goal, right? Which is building the digital banking network. But it's been wild. I think, we always joke, and I've kind of adopted this since I've joined the team, that one year in crypto is kind of 10 years in the real world, but it's been full on. We'll get into some more technical detail, but we've obviously got, I think the intern tweeted the other day about having, a lot of people in the industry have gone mile wide, but inch deep in kind of one field, and they're figuring it out. Whereas really Metallicus has built these incredible products of every kind of touch point that would be required for the mission, which is to build a digital asset banking network. And all of these plates have kind of been spinning for a very, very long time, and we've been keeping them all up. And we're now really at the point where, like I said before, this bottleneck has happened, where the entire product suite is being so complementary to one another. So whether it's from the layer 0 blockchain and the success that we're having with credit unions and institutions wanting to adopt blockchain, whether it's from the fiat on-ramp and really recognizing that it's fantastic to go to the individual, but how great would it be to plug in these banking rails into the application, and for that you need a version of MetalPay as an on-ramp to be able to do so. So we've launched MetalPay Connect. Huge, right? It's so seamless. It's got everything that MetalPay is known for. You get the same incredible customer service from the team. You get all of the incredible fees, all of the old school stuff that we've had from reducing fees through holding MTL and stuff, and then really just expanding networks. We've obviously got the US. We've recently launched Australia and New Zealand, and we're looking to come to many more global territories very, very soon. And, I was in Canada for a bit and was desperate for MetalPay. I'm now in London. I'm like, at this point, I need to get US citizenship to be able to use MetalPay. And that's pretty tough. But, MetalPay then come into MetalX, right? Like MetalX in the back end and as an exchange is literally the best decentralized exchange in the industry. I do not know of any platform that has all of the functions that MetalX has in one place. And not only that, can handle the traffic and the volume to be able to support that, powered by XPR network. You can lend on there, you can trade markets, perpetuals have been in motion, and we'll continue to keep pushing that boat down. You can borrow on there, you can yield farm, you can add to liquidity pools, you can stream payments, you can govern, and we'll get onto the exciting governance news later on, but that is a big part of it as well. And I think the beauty in all of this is, we are decentralized OGs, right? Like, we are trying to find that perfect balance of building this world-class tech stack, which is decentralized and powered by incredibly fast, secure blockchain. And with MetalPay leveraging MetalX, as a place to get liquidity from, you see how all of the pieces are coming together. WebAuth, right? We've just launched Ethereum mainnet in WebAuth. So exciting. Like, WebAuth has always been my favorite wallet. And I love to hold Ethereum on Ethereum mainnet. I'd love to hold Bitcoin on Bitcoin mainnet as well. So all of these exciting things are coming to the ecosystem really all at once. And I've probably missed a bunch of stuff, and we can keep moving forwards. But to kind of answer your question, there's a lot going on. It's wild. we are obviously, one of the beauties about this company is we are a lean team, and we've got the best of the best in every single role. And we've seen how venture capitalists can move throughout this industry and inflate these companies to unsustainable positions where they just can't, really hold it anymore. And the beauty about the people that are at Metallicus are they're the ones that purely believe in this vision and mission that Marshall, Glenn, Arena, and everyone on the executive team is pulling together. And that's so important, because I think people come and go, and it's really about how do we keep scaling this team slowly, but with the best talent in the world that really want to make this entire digital banking network happen. So I guess that was a semi-long-winded answer, but I hope that helped.
No, it's well, I do want to say this. You said, you guys are running lean and you feel that everyone's at the best, at the top of the game. I would say this, it feels like the Metallicus team is passionate. I feel like there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of sacrifice, because, it's not easy building and developing it, and you guys you're kind of in your own lane, 100%. And I'd imagine taking on the feats that you are taking on. I mean, when do you get time for yourself?
I mean, to be honest,
you don't.
Do you know what it is? Like, today, if I being fully vulnerable here, today has been an absolute nightmare, but I've actually enjoyed every single minute of it. I have the beauty to be able to work from wherever I want in the world, right? I've spent the weekend at my brother's family in the UK, got to spend time at home with my family. I was there for a month. Obviously, I mentioned I got married. I was at my in-laws' house in Dubai for a while, so, and it's exhilarating, man. Like, I as a guy from a very small mining town in the northeast of England, where I've just got down to London today, and I'm like, thank the Lord there is stimulation down here. But I never imagined that my working day would be impacted by something so huge and significant. And I think this, I followed on the sidelines because I've been firefighting with PR and stuff all day, but like, the bill has just, the knock-on effect of that is just phenomenal. And it's almost a proud moment to be a part of that. And I think even more so when we've launched the Doge dashboard, which I don't really want to talk about that, because I want to try and probably save that if Marshall does decide to come on later. So we'll keep that offside. But if you don't mind, Jackie, what I would like to do is, because I know not everyone's come here to listen to me harp on about my life, I would very much like to read you a press release, which I'm surprised none of the Metallicus community have found. Someone probably has. I imagine Fat Tony might have, or a few of the Turbo OG guys. But we made an announcement today. The Twitter Spaces and interviews were going to be part of that announcement. We've got John listening here, John Ainsworth from Bonify, and he was going to be one of the guests on there. But Metallicus has successfully, I feel very privileged to be saying this verbally, but Metallicus has acquired a fintech called Bonify. Bonify are a digital ledger company. They're an OG from the credit union space, led by John Ainsworth, who is very kindly listening here. He's a little preoccupied at the minute, as obviously we all are, and I imagine you would understand, given the stature of what has to go into things like this. So it's been a huge work in progress for a very, very long time, but we are very happy to be able to announce that today. So what I thought is I'll read that release out to you, and maybe you could throw me some questions back to digest it and ask me, kind of what it means for the company going forwards.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, Paul can probably post a link somewhere. I think we got some interesting coverage from, like, it was some sort of hippopotamus PR title. We do have some bigger titles coming through, which will be dropping very soon, but just so you can read along, I guess it would be interesting. But yeah, Metallicus acquires FinTech Bonifii, connecting 70 credit unions to Metal blockchain. The acquisition establishes the first credit union service organization backed by a blockchain core developer, which we're very happy about. Today, Metallicus, a leader in blockchain technology for banking, has announced its acquisition of FinTech Bonifii, a credit union service organization, which is also known as a CUSO, and something I've just learned. And Bonify actually used to operate formerly as CU Ledger. So a lot of the people in the credit union space, a lot of their CTOs, CEOs, etc., have worked with CU Ledger and know CU Ledger. The two entities are going to establish a CUSO, allowing blockchain-based products to be leveraged by credit unions that deploy on the digital banking network, TDBN, as I'm sure you've all been following, an open-source blockchain banking protocol developed by Metallicus. The acquisition enables more than 70 of Bonify's current credit union customers to leverage the capabilities of Metal Blockchain, the digital banking network's layer 0 blockchain. Marshall said, Bonify has made great progress in bringing blockchain technology to credit unions, and we're very excited to partner with them. With our blockchain development expertise and with Bonify's deep experience in the credit union sector, we're excited to bring more financial institutions on chain and significantly enhance services for their members. John, I hope I do this justice. CU Ledger was originally founded to harness the potential of distributed ledger technology for credit unions. And as the only CUSO directly connected to a blockchain core developer, we are uniquely positioned to accelerate the delivery of innovative tools that build member trust and enhance the competitiveness of credit unions globally. Love that quote. And then finally, Jim Phillips, who is chairman of the board at Bonify, had to add, this acquisition will strengthen Bonify's existing products, such as Member Pass, something that they've already launched, and expand offerings into evolving areas of identity management, payments, smart contracts, and more effective fraud fighting tools. We're excited about the future of the combined organization and what it can bring to credit unions and their members. The acquisition will allow us to offer our full stack digital asset product suite to credit unions that join the digital banking network, giving their members access to products like self-custody digital asset wallets and the ability to buy and sell cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin via MetalPay fiat on-ramp natively within their existing banking apps. Current participants in Metallicus's banking innovation program are incubating use cases such as stablecoins, on-chain identity, asset tokenization, single sign-on, and smart contracts. And as I think many of you will know, the secret sauce is Metal Blockchain's architecture allows financial institutions to operate their own private subnet on the digital banking network, facilitating secure instant payments between others without the need for a bridge while meeting regulatory standards like BSA compliance and ISO 2022. The acquisition follows recent announcement of its enablement of instant payment capabilities through the redacted service. There you go. A lot to unpack.
Well, it's huge. I mean, I'll say this: it backs up what you talked about earlier with how much you've got going on. Something that popped out. You had mentioned, this would enhance the competitiveness of credit unions. Could you maybe expand on that? I guess in my mind, it's credit unions taking a revolutionary step, whereas certain big banks and I guess other credit unions are not. It's the update. It's the revolution. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I'd love to comment on that. Really, really good question. It's funny. I was in Houston, Texas, of all places. I was in the States, and I think the closest airport to get to Dubai was from Houston. And we had a layover for about, God, it was maybe like 6 hours. So I headed to a restaurant and got chatting to the bartender to just learn a little bit more about credit unions, right? Like, I'm from the UK, we have similar things here, but not like the real US credit union model. And I was very, very interested to, hear it from people themselves. And it was funny because, and so serendipitous, because I asked this guy at the bar, the bartender, and he said, yeah, no one really uses banks or credit unions around here. They all mine Bitcoin. And I was like, you've got to be joking. I just do not believe, I do not believe that story at all. And he said, well, there's a lot of land around here. And I think Texas has pretty favorable taxes. And I was like, wow, first of all, this bar's amazing. I've never had that experience in my life. I won't bore you with more of it, but I ended up on the phone with a Bitcoin miner who was a turbo Bitcoin maximalist by the end of the night. And he, opened my mind up to a whole load of stuff. But I did end up speaking to a few people about credit unions. And one of the things that this lady had said to me was that, you've got these huge banks, Bank of America, we've got all of these incredible neobanks that are blowing up. And ultimately, they can, I guess, innovate a little quicker, and they can offer crazy points and all these credit cards and all these connections. And really, when you're working with like the younger demographic, they're really into that kind of side of things and gamification, and they want interest rates, and they want, really easy neobanky ways of playing with things. And, ultimately as well, they're probably going to be interested in digital assets. So I think that it's a very competitive space. And, I think one of the really, really interesting reasons that we've seen such incredible success with credit unions so far is that those, the fundamental vision of both things are symbiotic. And what I mean by that is that credit unions are nonprofit banks, right? Like, their goal is to serve the communities and the people that are around them. And this whole journey of Bonify has just been fascinating, like learning more. And I was with John in Vegas for a little while and, chewing his ear off about all of these different stories behind credit unions. And just, you know, hearing about Vibrant and Vibrant's origin of being the original credit union for John Deere tractors. And like, I grew up around John Deere tractors. I was like, this is the coolest story ever. You know, hearing different ones about small credit unions that came up to support the telecoms industry when it was born in the US. And when there were a bunch of them, right? There are endless. There's teachers credit unions to support teachers in certain areas. And the real principles of it is just phenomenal. And it really aligns with blockchain's vision of decentralization. And I get a little bit carried away when, you know, we're pitching it. And it's like, how amazing would it be, right, if you gave 1% of your savings account interest? Let's just say it's supercharged by DeFi. We find a safe way to make yield. And you can put a percentage towards your local community into a DAO. And then those DAO funds are made available on a voting platform for not only a citizen, but even a resident card you could have tied to the government. And you can vote on proposals to help your community. It could be rebuild the park. It could be add, you know, fix up some potholes in the street that haven't been looked to. And it just really fosters that sense of community, which is honestly phenomenal and exciting. That is obviously a little further away than probably where we think it, you know, we're at now, given that our core focus is really just maximizing the efficiency of money with blockchain for now. But, you know, I think credit unions are a fantastic group to work with. The alignment between what John has been doing at Bonify and the importance of that mission from a digital identity standpoint with MemberPass, and what we're doing on the financial side of things, you know, with this entire ecosystem that we have built to plug and play into the existing system. You know, I think the early vision, the early days of crypto, people thought, you know, blockchain and crypto will replace the banks. But, you know, I think we're at a position, and this mission really says that we want to help the banks, right? Because the banks to us aren't the evil guys that are, you know, conning you out of money or making mistakes with poor and shoddy investments. Like, we want to support the grassroots credit unions that are supporting communities, so everyone can have a voice, everyone can have access to financial products without, you know, being rejected to those. And finally, let's bring this incredible suite of products that we have, that we know Gen Z and younger are going to want within their existing infrastructure, and really collaborate with Bonify to make the credit union member experience just absolutely phenomenal. And I think that's why we're here. That's why it's worked, and we are very, very, very excited.
Yeah, no, I mean, no kidding. You guys have, I mean, talk about putting your money where your mouth is. Let me say this. I did have this question. So on an executive level, you do have, you know, the credit unions, they're excited. They like this. They like the technology. They're catching the vision, if you will, the revolution. My question would be, as far as the onboarding process for their customers, their clients, is that something that the credit unions would handle in-house on their own accord? Or is there something Metallicus maybe has a system? Here's how you would onboard your clients. You know, without revealing too much, what do you guys, what's the plan?
A little bit in the weeds there, but nevertheless, a very, very good question. I think we're figuring that out. And I think, you know, the path for this is very much through the banking innovation program. So it kind of comes back to, I think a lot of people have built solutions and kind of forced them upon the institution, versus what we've done is we've said, hey, you know, come and join this banking innovation program. We do not want anything from you. Like, we are blockchain evangelists. And it's allowed us to progress conversations. Like, crypto and blockchain is terrifying. Like, even still,
Right.
You know, Haley Welsh, you know, crypto's, that's terrifying. Haley Welsh has been asleep, I think, for like a week now. So, you know, there's still a lot of work to do.
Right.
But, you know, the innovation program has really opened the door to bringing in individual credit unions, right? We've worked our way up, I think, to 15 so far, with each of those kind of expressing their interest in a certain vertical. It could be identity, it could be secure documentation, it could be payments, it could be stable coins, it could be crypto within the app. And I think what it's allowed us to do is have, you know, we have these quarterly calls, monthly meets. Frank speaks to them all daily about, like, what do you need? You know, we listened to Kyle Houtman at Money 2020, and, you know, my big takeaways from his talk were that it's like, how do we help the members, right? There are so many underserved people in so many communities that don't even have access to basic banking systems, you know. And it even runs a little deeper. I was watching this documentary about some of the folk that have to live underground in Las Vegas, right? And the difficulty that they have in securing identification is just wild. And it's like, fundamentally, we want to try and fix all of these problems. And I think there are different strands of where we can help different credit unions, different people. So kind of how that flow looks, you know, they come into the banking innovation program, they explore things that they might be interested in. And then we're in the process now of facilitating those use cases, right? Like, credit union X, Y, and Z have bought into this, incorrect word, you know, are interested into this. Credit union ABC wants to look at this, and we figure it out as we move through. And then the plan eventually is to onboard these institutions to the digital banking network. And that could be in any capacity, right? The thing that's great about Metallicus is that we've built the entire suite, right? We've built the chain that allows you to deploy a private subnet. We've built the stable coin that allows you to offer a stable coin if you'd like to. Maybe you don't want your private subnet. Maybe you are a institutional player that wants to connect to the digital banking network because all of the stable coin volume is on it, and you want to create an exchange because you think you can make the greatest exchange, right? And so there's all of these different kind of touch points that come into it. But ultimately the goal is to bring as many institutions globally onto this digital banking network, because I think we all know and understand the power of what blockchain can do to the financial system and how it can alleviate so many, problems with cross-border payments to account closures to,
corruption.
Bank, didn't want to say the C word, but but
it seems very it almost seems hard to argue against. My thought is it's very logical. It seems, well, who wouldn't want to be a part of the digital banking network? Here's a question would be, is when you do come across a credit union and maybe they're skeptical or they don't understand, I guess what would be the reasons a credit union would say no? Do you feel like it's maybe just a lack of understanding? Maybe they're positioned a little bit differently?
Honestly, I'm going to throw it out there, and I think it's genuinely a question of when, not if. I think we have the potential to empower everyone, and that's just because we're there for the right reasons. We're not really there to force anything onto anyone. We want to say like, hey, you can help your people just through leveraging our technology.
Well, then you get the momentum. My thought too is, as Metallicus, you guys have continued to step it up. Here's another credit. Here's another. Oh, now we're in this country. Oh, now we've done this. And so, one thing I think, I'm a big momentum person, right? You get a lot of momentum, and the goal is to carry that on and scale it up. What could the community, right? The community, the members here on X, Telegram, XPR network, how can the community help carry on the momentum?
For sure. Great question. It's hard to ask, a group of people that probably have their own full-time jobs and are working to do stuff for us. But it is really powerful when people do pull through and help us. And honestly, if I'm speaking on behalf of myself right now, not Metallicus, and I'm sure other team members have different thoughts, but I really think, speaking to your credit unions, I think in the politest way, and asking them how things are going, right? Like, go to the grassroots level. Like, credit unions listen to their members fundamentally. That there isn't this pyramid-esque hierarchy that you have to climb out, because there are 4,500 credit unions in the US, right? And so even some of the I met the president of Colorado Credit Union in Las Vegas, and he was like, yeah, I'm also our CFO and CTO at the same time. Like, some of these credit unions are really, really small, so it's not hard to get to the right people. And it's not a sales pitch, right? It's just like, hey, blockchain, from and everyone is obviously very welcome to take their own sales approach, but blockchain fundamentally is here to stay. And I think Metallicus is, and we can give you sales toolkits or anything if you would like to speak to someone. And there's obviously certain crossover because we'll be speaking to different credit unions and whatnot, but just let them know. Let them know that, let's say credit union A launches something, like, feel free to say like, hey, I think our members would like this. Maybe credit union B does something else with us, or even in general, like, without focusing on Metallicus, like, if your credit union's doing something interesting, you could speak to them, let them know. I think that would be more than helpful. And we've already very kindly had a few of you guys reach out and kind of pass on emails for people that you've spoken to get in touch with, and they kind of funnel into our sales funnel and go to Frank, who is the king of managing all of these relationships, and we go from there. And it's just the same old, right? It's what I was just saying before. It's how can we help you guys, but yeah, that's a huge help. And then, otherwise, I always say this, I probably haven't been on a space for a very, very long time, and I'm very sorry about that, but it has purely been hectic. But just be kind to us. We are actually all human. And I think sometimes there can be stresses and stuff from the community, and we get it, right? Like, it's an absolutely insane industry and market to be a part of. But just remember that, some of us have got avatars, some people are hiding behind avatars, but we're all human at the end of the day. And, right. I think lifting up the team, supporting them, even messaging someone and saying well done, or good job, or top news, like, while we might not respond, I can promise you now every single DM gets read, whether by the intern who will pass it into our new intern Slack channel that they've created, or directly onto us guys, or Marshall, who still, when he finds time, manages to just see everything, which I think is a true testament to how much he believes in this vision and just wants to support you guys as much as possible.
I appreciate you saying that, because you know what, that was very genuine of you. It's true. You get into your grind. Excuse me. You get into your grind. You get into your network, and you're doing this and you're doing that. And it's true. I think at some point you look at the Metallicus team and you're like, oh, those are those guys. Those are the top dogs. And and rightfully so. I think you guys have earned it. But I would add, I would echo what you say, is you are just human at the end of the day. And despite what's being done and being accomplished, it's we are a team. Even to expand, we're your family, if you will, the Metallicus blockchain and XPR network, and Yeah, I think there's I mean, yeah, I'll tell you what, the camaraderie is great, the community is great, and I think it only gets better. You touched on Marshall, how much is going on and how busy he is. I do want to ask, and this might be on behalf of the community, what's it like working with Marshall? What's it like? Is it intense? Is it easygoing? Is it 2 a.m. phone calls?
It's amazing, man. It's an absolute pleasure to be able to work with Marshall and Paul as well. We are at it 24/7. We have a running joke, the three of us, sometimes when we're chatting, and it's like, all right, see you in 6 hours, and I'm in one place in the world. Paul's in New Zealand, Marshall's in LA. But yeah, it's incredible, and just to be a part of the entire vision is just, yeah, it's a real honor. But he's inspiring. He's here. Awesome. He's up. He's inspiring. He, isn't just the leader of our company. He's a friend to every single employee, whether that's, supporting us personally, whether it's recommendations for books to articles we should read, or, just generally being there to pep up the entire team, because it's very, very intense. You look in this industry and I'm not going to name individual projects, but the comparable Layer Zero project, right, has 400 employees, and Exchange has X, and we've done it all with this entire crew. So I think it speaks volumes for, and zero attrition at this company, by the way, which is wild. But like next to zero. The people that are here want to be here because it's an incredible place to work. And yeah, without further ado, I'll pass the mic off to you, and I'm sure Marshall can jump in at some point to speak. He's got some pretty exciting news, so maybe we should just jump straight into Doge.
I would love it. I would love it if yeah, Marshall, take it away.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Really excited to be here today, and just a wild day for crypto, and a wild day for our industry, I would say. Yeah, it's a really exciting moment. I'm really honored to be working together with John Ainsworth and the Bonify team, and we met through the space. As we were building our program, our banking and blockchain banking innovation program, we kept meeting different credit unions and different banks and financial institutions. And as we made our rounds in the credit union space, it kept coming up. Have you met John Ainsworth? Have you heard of Bonify? Have you heard of CU Ledger? And I had remembered seeing an article on CoinDesk around the same time that Metallicus was starting about it, something about IBM and Hyperledger, and the name kept coming up over time. And finally, I got the opportunity to meet John, and we really hit it off. And come to realize that 8 years ago, John and his team at Bonify, formerly CU Ledger, had attempted what Metal Blockchain was doing. It was very early, right? So this is like Ethereum is just launching, right? Like it's a baby. There's basically no ERC-20s yet. Smart contracts is a relatively new thing, and so it was hard to do it back then 8 years ago. If you look at the journey that Metallicus has had to take to really build out our own ecosystem, our own platform, we're not just building dApps on someone else's blockchain. We're rebuilding entire blockchains to function in the way that we need them to for financial institutions. And we just really connected. I really connected with John and the team at Bonify, and as we progressed, we realized we have the same mission and vision and values. And John and I are both big payments geeks. We're both huge crypto fans and blockchain aficionados and enthusiasts. And it just kind of came together naturally because what Bonify had started with CU Ledger was to connect all the credit unions through the blockchain. Right. And over time pivoted to, with Bonify to focus on member pass and digital identity, but something, that we were working on as well. And I think that it was maybe, might have been less sexy 4 or 5 years ago to talk about compliance and identity. Flash forward 5 years, now all of a sudden it's probably one of the most important aspects for this industry to grow. And just today, we built this little MVP just to kind of showcase how identity would work, but we launched it today. You can find it on my X profile, voting with digital identity. Because, Elon said, and some other people on X said, hey, wouldn't it be great if we could have some provable way to take votes in a poll with digital identity and have an unalterable result on a blockchain, like where we could do, California, I think might still be counting the votes from the presidential election, when we could have a real-time tally in seconds, right? We could know all, and we have the technology to do this. And that's just one use case, right? And John saw that with Bonify, building that for the credit union and banking space, and has been very successful with that. So when we saw this and we had these discussions, we started talking about how we can partner and work together, and it just came together very naturally. And I'm very excited to partner with John and the team. And with this partnership, it really brings an explosion in our network. So you see, I think we're up to maybe 17 credit unions in our program now on the Metal Blockchain. We should change it to the Credit Union Innovation Program, because that's really where our focus is. And maybe banks will come around someday, but the credit union, the network of credit unions is global. They have an instant settlement network. It's a different regulator, and frankly, it aligns with the vision of blockchain, of supporting your community and also ownership too, right? The credit unions are nonprofits, and they're based on the vision of empowering their community. So if you become a depositor at a credit union, you're actually an owner of the credit union. You can't say the same about Chase, right, or Bank of America. You're just a guy with a checking account. But at a credit union, you're part of the community. And so we've come together to work on this, and with John's expertise and Bonify's expertise, it's like rocket fuel to our existing vision and program. So I couldn't be more excited.
Oh, I love that. Love that. Well, I do want to touch on this, Marshall. I want to talk about governance and
And
voting on blockchain.
I just want to say,
sorry.
John, if you want to come up, by the way, as well. I don't know, John, I think might be working in the background, but if you want to come up, just hit request and we'll add you up. Sorry, go ahead, Jackie. Sorry
No,
about that.
no worries. I want to talk about voting and governance on the blockchain. Really, can you just give us a brief description? Why is that important? Why is it important to vote on blockchain and use blockchain technology versus how we're currently voting?
Well, it's interesting because the digital identity, and this is something that John saw at Bonify. When he started with CU Ledger, he pivoted to create Bonify and focus on the digital identity and the anti-fraud and building the member pass product and program, which they've been very successful with. Within this merger, we're going to keep building on top of that, as well, and integrate what we've done with digital identity on the blockchain. And why do I think it's important? Well, I mean, look at how bad things have gotten, right? In terms of identity. At this point, you got your social security number, you got your driver's license, you got your passport, you have your various forms of identity, but everything is compromised. Everybody's social security numbers have been compromised.
Right.
Licenses are easily faked, copied, stolen, lost. This idea that this idea that you have to carry around a card in your wallet is an antiquated idea, right? To prove who you are. It's the same idea as like, hey, will you sign this check? That's an antiquated idea, right? Could someone fake someone's signature? Yeah, but in 1950, that's what we had, right? We didn't have the technology we have today. So now today, it makes more sense that you wouldn't say like, hey, here's my social security number. Hey, here's a copy of my driver's license or passport. It should be, hey, I'm at Jackie. Request to verify that I am who I am. And I sign that with my private key, right? The public-private key cryptography, also known as Diffie-Hellman cryptography, is an invention, I want to say it's like 30 years old or so. Still, it took a long time. It wasn't until 2009. Well, actually, maybe call it 1998 or 97 or whenever PGP kind of got popularized. I think it might even be earlier than that, maybe like 94 or something. I was probably like 10 years old. But think about how that technology has had to evolve. And then again, flash forward another 10 years or more, 2009, blockchain created the unalterable ledger. So now you have this ability to sign something with a private key to test something that's public. So that allows you to be at Jackie, and we can verify that without giving it away. So you can see this trend with like, just look at your phone and your wallet. I don't carry around a wallet anymore. I think most people probably don't, because you don't need all these cards anymore. You got Apple Wallet, you have digital identity, and in a few states you can actually add your driver's license to your Apple Wallet if you're in California or Colorado. The future is going to be like that. It's going to be mostly digital, but also this idea of like, look at like credit score, for example, right? You can lock your credit score. Why should you have to do that? Because the old model was basically giving out your password and trusting everyone to, be nice. And the world doesn't work that way, unfortunately. And also when it comes to like security and convenience, and think about like the merchant world, right? We pass around the equivalent of crypto private keys, and those are what they call the BIN, or bank identification number, on the front of your credit or debit card. That's your crypto private key, right? That paired with the 3-digit code on the back, and maybe you need the zip code, but you don't need much, right, to figure that out. And I'm sure if you found someone's wallet, you could just pull the zip code off their license in the wallet or Google them and figure it out. And this is why merchants, this is why you pay 3 to 4% premium on your merchant processing, and that's why it settles so slow. So what if we could have a better system? And that's the digital identity is going to be everything, and it's more than just banking and payments, but it's going to go into everything. It's going to go into government. It's going to go into all these things. And it was really, I think it's almost kind of like sometimes the universe just lines everything up perfectly. Or I think when things are meant to happen, they'll happen. Today, the day that we're announcing our merger with Bonify, is the first day that the world has ever seen a digital identity voting on a public government matter on chain, which we just posted today. So, I think these things are coming. Metallicus is really a leader and an innovator in this space. And, maybe these ideas weren't sexy a few years ago when we started work on them, but we did it because we knew that it would ultimately become a major thing and something that's very big. And I think that we're probably one of the first to do it. I'm sure there will be more to do it, but no one's going to do it like we're going to do it. So.
Right. Well, and I would think that you guys had to ask yourself in maybe some of the early days of Metallicus is, what are we doing, or what are banks doing that is just so outdated, unsustainable, right? And crypto is, I mean, it's the solution. It's cut out the middleman. It's speed it up. It's put the user in control without having to jump through 10 hoops.
Yeah, I saw the oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, well, no, you go.
I was gonna say, I saw we had a mishap today. We had several spaces planned for CoinDesk and Nasdaq, and I think we got a little over ambitious because it's like a week before Christmas, the holiday break, and everything, and then the government, and then this 1,500-page spending bill drops, and we here we are. But it was funny because the host of Nasdaq yesterday, Jill Mail, oh no, sorry, I think it was I forgot who it was. But anyways, someone posted the other day on X. I'm trying to, I just cashed a check, and now I just got a notification an hour later that I can have 20% of my check, right? And she said, it really sucks. And I said, the funniest part about that is the check that you cashed was the equivalent of a crypto paper wallet with a private key on it. If you lose that check, somebody could theoretically get access to your bank account, because with the bank account and the routing number, that's really all you need. Now systems have, FinTech anti-fraud systems have developed little band-aids around this. Like, we'll put a micropayment in your account and you tell us how much that is. Then we'll authorize the ability to do that. But that's just a that's just a governor built into their system. It doesn't prevent ACH from being accessed. Once you have the account routing number, you can go nuts. It's just that modern systems are trying to prevent you from just linking anyone's. It's probably only a few years ago that you could just enter an account routing number into some apps and it will just accept it without question. Nowadays, you have things like Plaid, you have micropayment solutions, but all of that is pretty outdated and pretty lame when you think about it, that we have these band-aids when we have this technology. And why should we even have to wait a week, get 20% of the check and expose the equivalent of our private key? We should be able to get paid now and be able to do it from one side of the world to the other side of the world in any currency we want and immediately get it accepted and never expose our private key, right? So that's really where I see metal blockchain being a big innovator for credit unions and banks, not just on the DeFi side, but also just improving banking. Also, look at like the authentication systems, right? Like when you go to log into your bank and it says, "Hey, we've sent you a text message." Well, anybody in crypto knows like how secure is a text message. In fact, I think I just got like 5 messages since we started this space, like, "Hi, how are you? This is Jim. I'm Sally." Like, yeah, right. We know in crypto where the weak points are because we've seen them exploited, and I think that banks have kind of really built on top of these old antiquated systems, and this is where blockchain is really going to solve a lot of problems. I think in the past we've seen a lot of blockchain hacks and different things like that, and part of that is the innovate and ask for forgiveness later kind of mentality. But if you leverage blockchain in the places that it's really strong to patch legacy systems where they're weak, incredible things can happen.
Well, it feels like that's the momentum, right? As people start to realize, and I think with the credit unions that have signed up with the digital banking network, my thought is as time goes on and they realize the ease, the simplicity, the lack of overhead. I'm sure there's people being paid to do certain things that are just crypto could do that. Like quit. I think that there's going to be some momentum. I think other credit unions will talk to other credit unions, and people will realize I think it will hit a point where it's you either get left behind or you join the digital banking network. And I'm biased, but I'm almost like it seems very logical. And so part of me wonders, circling to why any credit union would say no. Is it old thinking? Is it rigid thinking that this is how it is? But it's outdated, right? How do you humble those people and let them know, hey, if you don't catch up, people are going to realize, hey, you're stuck in the past. Why would I bank with you? I still have to wait days. And it's funny you brought up some of the crimes that can happen. And I work for a general contractor, and we did just have a hit on our Chase bank account for $30,000. And what had happened is, again, someone had got our numbers from a check. And on the black market, you can buy a check printing machine, $300-$400. I mean, it's not, yeah, they hit us for 30 grand, and they hit us on a Thursday, Thanksgiving, and payday's Friday. And so we went a couple weeks without checks because even Chase said it'll take us 10 days to resolve this. And I mean, again, it's like, man, stuff like this should not be happening. Like, we're in the digital age, and you're still getting robbed because someone found those numbers and they were able to put it in and pretend they were you. It's unsustainable. One thing I did want to ask, Marshall, with Metallicus, what's maybe a big goal or something you could share? What's something you're looking forward to going into the new year?
Yeah. So, and I think it's interesting what you said about the fraudulent charge on the account. In the future, wouldn't it make sense that the charges sit in sort of a pending queue, and you just log in? Think of like a messaging app when somebody adds you. Think of LinkedIn. It's a good example, right? I get LinkedIn requests. I go into my LinkedIn inbox and I see a bunch of spammy looking things, and I hit decline, decline, decline. And then I see, oh, hey, that's a partner or somebody I know. I hit accept, right? Shouldn't payments be the same way? Shouldn't it be, it's not authorized until you sign it, right?
Right.
So like you see the 30,000 come in, but the money cannot come out of your account until you authorize it, right? Unfortunately, the system is built on bubblegum and string, and it doesn't work that way. I mean, it didn't look like bubblegum and string 30 years ago, 20 years ago, right? But now it does, unfortunately, especially given the global nature of things and how, maybe 30 years ago, someone from the other side of the world is not going to hack your bank account because it just would be impossible. But now they can, and they can get the money out, and they have ways. And so, anyways, I think that that's going to change everything. Oh, real quick before I answer that question, I wanted to point out too, you asked Will a question earlier, what will this look like? And we can't really answer 100% for confidentiality reasons and everything, all the details, right? And I'll mention here too, a lot of stuff is in flux, right? So we're going back and forth and getting feedback and designing things real time. But my vision, one of the ways that I see things coming together is, in the past, we would have a middleman, right? So we'd have a MetalPay, we have a Coinbase, we have a Kraken, we have a Cash App, right? We'd have an app or an exchange that we go to. We'd send it some money. It would take a few days for the money to arrive. Sometimes it'd be instant, but maybe you have to do that with a debit card, or you have to pay some fee or something like that, right? And when we withdraw, let's say sell some crypto, I don't get it. Unless I'm paying some sort of fee to push it to my debit card, I don't get it right away. I might wait anywhere from 24 hours to a few days to maybe a week, depending upon how long it takes to settle to my bank, right? And also something that we've learned, Wells Fargo and JP Morgan, two of the major 4 banks in the US, will shut your account down for interacting with any crypto company. So 50% of the top 4 banks will ban you for doing stuff with a crypto company, which is funny because JP Morgan has their own proprietary blockchain, and Wells Fargo also has made investments into blockchain. So that's funny. where I see this going is a revival and resurgence of credit unions in with the younger generation. I think it was something that maybe kind of got lost because people are looking at neobanking and flashy apps, and it's like, why would I use my local credit union? But I think that we're, as a society, also about to have a big reconvergence of, going back to community, keeping things in America, keeping things local, in a big way for many reasons. And one of those things I think that's going to happen is banking and a, new and reinvigorated focus on credit unions. And who better to support you in your blockchain and crypto journey than your community, your local community, right? I think that's awesome. So if you can now, as a consumer, open a credit union account that's part of this network that can connect into MetalPay Connect. And when you want to deposit some XMD or USDC, it's in your checking account that instant. Not a day, not a few days, not a week. It's there, right? You want to withdraw it? Boom, it's there. And you have the pleasure of knowing this is a financial institution, a credit union that is comfortable with crypto, is not going to, rug me and shut off my accounts. And I've heard horror stories of people who have had their account shut off for crypto and puts them in a really difficult position because they had a mortgage or a loan on their car or something, right? And it's like, that's crazy. For what? Buying and selling Bitcoin, you're going to be punished that way? That's crazy.
Incredibly frustrating.
And
It
if you're
shouldn't be allowed.
it should be a lot. And if you're and they're looking into that, but it's going to take a while, for the policy to change, the administration to change. We only recently had a bullish reversal where the crypto industry was essentially captured by a regulator who just wanted to crush it and basically openly said that they resigned. And now I think we're gonna see a revival in the United States for crypto. And crypto is like Pandora's box. It's like water. It just flows, right? You can't really stop it. So even during these restrictive times, things are really growing. And now when we go into like the Renaissance time, this is going to be one of the most, I'm very excited. It's going to be one of the most impressive, awesome moments for crypto because I think that in the US at least, we're going to see more clear regulation guidance. You're going to see over the next 4 years and beyond, you're going to see major TradFi institutions coming in. You've already seen it with BlackRock. You've seen it with PayPal. You've seen it with different companies. But as I predicted when I started the company in 2016, wait for everyone. Fortune 500. Everybody will have a blockchain. Or be working with a blockchain. And the way that I see that is TDBN, Metal Blockchain, Metal L2, the XPR network. These networks are built for what we're trying to do, and I see us as really kind of the purveyor of that rise. And I think we're going to see it over the next few years because crypto was realistically stifled, right? And it really, the policies and the lack of clarity from some regulators really scared away a lot of the larger institutions. And now I think that's about to change. And so it's a question of who has the tools, who's been building. And fortunately or unfortunately, very few people. Metallicus is probably one of the very few that's been building this tech because people. I don't think we're really thinking about that the past few years. That I think the bottleneck's going to open up, but in order for that to happen, to merge these two worlds together, what tools and sort of infrastructure needs to exist?
No, it's phenomenal because it's. I'm incredibly biased, but I'm just like, it makes so much sense. One thing you had talked about was you do have some of these big banks who, on one hand, they're punishing their customers for being involved with crypto, and then on the other hand, they're playing a little bit crypto themselves. That's incredibly frustrating. Do you think, is it a facade? Do they know that this is like a crypto taking over? It's almost an inevitability, and so you wonder, is there a game they're playing? What's the delay?
Well, yeah, I think they realized it. I think the larger institutions realized it maybe 5 years ago or more that this was unavoidable. A lot of them, a lot of the larger ones tried to lobby against it, and so that which created the atmosphere that we had for the past 4 years, which was a relatively hostile environment in the U.S. Meanwhile, other countries like Japan, look at the EU, they've already crafted regulation. They have MiCA. Japan is treating cryptocurrencies as regulated currency, right? And we have certain states like we have Texas, right? That's making big moves towards it. California is where a lot of the development is happening, and they're building crypto into their money transmission licensing process. But yeah, I think that it's really a matter of everything kind of opening up. We need to have more clear guidance. I think I do think that crypto is money, and a lot of the existing rules and regulations and lay of the land around traditional fiat money is sufficient in some ways, but in other ways it's not, right? And so there really needs to be kind of like a pathway. And then also I think just for developers and people in the space, look at one thing I'll just point out real quick. If you're a company, whether you're a fintech company or crypto company, if you do anything with blockchain, crypto, you're probably gonna be debanked from your existing bank. So every crypto company has to search very hard to find a corporate bank partner just to do your payroll, just to do your regular expenses. We're not talking it like an operational partner. An operational partner is nearly impossible to find. It's virtually impossible. It's not just like, oh, I want to do this to have all the right stuff. You have to know someone. You have to be connected to get an
Right.
operational partner. You have to be connected just to get a regular operating account, just for like your G&A. So with something like this, what we're building, I think that it really opens up that space because imagine if you can go to like metalblockchain.org and you can pick from thousands of credit unions globally as a business. Not only can you now get an account for your G&A, your just to operate your company, but you can also get that mythical unicorn part, which is I can plug my apps into the banking system, and that really wasn't an option before. It's when you look at like what happened with Avanti Bank, Caitlin Long sued the Fed. How did that work out? Not so good, right? You're not going to get your way by bullying your way in. You have to find a path that makes sense. And really, that that's the path that we found that we think makes the most sense. And in a way, it's pretty cool because it's decentralizing banking with the existing network of credit unions. It's really kind of decentralizing not banking, but access to banking services through blockchain. And that's really the missing link that we haven't had for a while. We actually had for a while in MetalPay DDA, what we call direct deposit accounts, and that went away. And people said, "Oh, what happened?" Well, now the cat is out of the bag. There was a partner that we worked with called Synapse that went belly up and lost hundreds of millions of dollars of user funds. We had this partner. I could not wait to get away from this partner because, there were serious problems, obviously, right? And one of those problems that I think we're solving with, what we're building in Metal Blockchain is, certifying the ledger, right? The exact problem that caused that partner to lose all of that money. They, Evolve Bank says it's over here, Synapse says it's over here. But at the end of the day, if credit unions and banks and FIs are going to work together, we need an unalterable ledger to reconcile against. And we can't take some private company's word for it or some centralized backend service. You legitimately actually need the blockchain to do this. So that, I think it's probably the first most valid use case for blockchain, besides just simple payments and DeFi that we've ever seen.
Well, it's I mean, when it moves so fast, it's you touched on this a couple of times through the questions. It's things are still in the building process, right? Rome wasn't built in a day. Do you think, in your personal opinion, do you think that 2025 may be the biggest year for crypto as a
Yeah,
whole?
definitely. I think this is going to be the most exciting year coming up that we've ever seen. I think, in terms of excitement, we didn't really have a lot of excitement until about like 2014. So for the first 5 years of crypto, it was really niche. And then 2014 was the first Bitcoin conference in San Jose. It was like the beginning of, some hype where people are getting excited. 2017 is like the greater market starting to come in. It's not just niche, technology brothers anymore. It's, everybody's kind of noticing not only Bitcoin, but I call 2017 the moment where everyone realized, so you're telling me there's something else than Bitcoin, right? And I would say it comes kind of with like the 4-year halvings of Bitcoin as well. Maybe that's related or correlated, maybe not. But then again, you have 2021, which is really kind of like the rise of DeFi and utility. And, that was the rise of DeFi lending. Unfortunately, the CeFi lending, killed it, or didn't kill it, but killed that era. But yeah, the next one is coming. So 2025, that's 4 years from the last kind of big cycle. This is going to be the cycle of regulation and what Metallicus really has been working on for the past, for forever pretty much, but gearing up for this moment. The regulation is going to open the floodgates to not only utility, but as we had predicted when we started the company, everything. All major corporations are going to have needs for shared ledger, instantaneous payments, and it's kind of like a sea change for banking and payments right now. Where if you think back to like using your cell phone in the '90s, if you had a cell phone in the '90s, I send a text that's 10 cents. I call someone from out of state, that's like a
I
dollar a minute
remember.
or something, right? Now I could call someone in China, I could call someone in Belgium, I could call all around the world, and I'm not going to pay anything. I could send messages all the the idea of text message and phone calls now is dead, right? Look at like X is, going after phone calls. You got Signal, you've got, Skype is like dead. That was like the V1. So payments is the same way, right? If I want to, right now I want to send a wire, that's $50. I want to send an ACH, okay, I can get it for free, but it's got to take 3 to 4 days, right? I want to use Venmo, okay, but I have to use a third-party platform. And that's kind of like the WhatsApp for text messages, maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, right? So now payments is going to open up. And not only, you could use the existing credit union, which is something a lot of people don't know, to send instant payment globally. And I think that aligns with crypto. Still, how do you connect that to fintechs, traditional banking, the blockchain? And I really look at blockchain as the connective glue that's going to pull credit unions and banks together. And also, I think, start the revival and resurgence of interest in community banking and credit unions.
I mean, it's massive. You talked about compliance and regulation maybe being one of the big parts of why 2025 would be huge. Here's some of the things I've thought about. I'd like your thoughts. You have the United States saying, and President Trump saying, hey, we're looking at doing a Bitcoin reserve. Okay. Now you have the United States setting up a Bitcoin reserve. You would think that tons of other countries would follow along, right? And you're getting into compliance and regulation. As far as the United States having a reserve and that kind of idea spreading, that's got to. I mean, I think 2025 might be even bigger than we imagine.
I think it's gonna be wild. I mean, for me, it's the craziest freaking thing because recently recently we crossed $100,000 Bitcoin, and I remember when I gave my grandfather 1 Bitcoin when I think it was like $20, like just like as a hey, send you $20 in the mail, here's
Yeah.
$20, and I wrote letter, Grandpa, don't sell till $100,000, and he's like yeah right, right, like he's an old school stock trader guy. He's like I'm worried for you, all right. He's like you own a lot of this thing,
Oh,
and,
Marshall.
yeah, and now he owns, he owns not just 1 Bitcoin, but he owns many Bitcoin. Because over the years, as time went on, I'll never forget when he said, "Okay, set me up with an account. I want to buy. I want to start trading." I'm like, "Okay, cool." I think that was back to like 2017 or so. And it was just really cool, a few weeks ago to say, "Hey, Pup, look at this, look at that." you know, 100 grand. Like I legitimately can't believe it. Congratulations. But so for me, going from this nerdy hobby when nobody said it was going to work, nobody said any of this stuff was ever going to be possible. You know, I saw the potential. It clicked with me. It was like, this is what I meant to do. Like, I don't know if you ever have that moment where you're like, okay, I think I found my opus. I think I found the thing I'm supposed to be doing here. That's it for me. And so 2025, it's going to be the biggest, you know, for me, having been here since pretty much day one. I wasn't here day one Bitcoin was invented, but December of 2009, so pretty close. You know, and I've been lucky to be there at the beginning of Dogecoin, December of 2013, right? And you know, watching all these things, it's pretty cool to me because I see the things that I dreamt about a decade plus ago. Now all of a sudden they're real, right? And you know, there were times where I wasn't sure, is this thing really going to happen? Like I think it's going to happen. It's not just like happening. It's almost magical, right? To even also hear the culture of crypto with Doge, Department of Government Efficiency, which started as a joke, right? And Doge started as a joke, which was like, check out this dog on a coin. The joke is really something that makes people question, how does money work to begin with? Where does it come from? Where does it go to? How is it created? How is it destroyed? You know, how is it put into circulation? This is stuff they don't teach in school, at least not, you know, public school system, high school, whatever. Maybe you learn the beginning of it in undergrad or graduate, or, you know, maybe you go to a PhD, you go to become a professor. You still don't really, frankly, know that much compared to putting stuff into progress, because, you know, early academics said Bitcoin will never work. You know, people in crypto said Dogecoin will never work because of its inflationary mechanics. But we're learning new things by actually testing these things where we could have never tested them before. You know, you couldn't before, like, oh, I'm going to spin up a fiat currency in a new government. No, you can't do that, right? It's not, or at least it's probably not going to happen. Now you can have these monetary experiments. So we're learning more about how currency works as a society. And I think that this is going to be some of the wildest times for growth economically, because you think about like what the internet did to business. Go back to that time when you used to pay for the text message and think about what business was like in 1997. And now flash forward to
Right.
maybe 2027 and think about what business is like when everyone's transactions are settling instantly, when fraud is way down, consumer satisfaction is way up. You know, we're already at the point where we're in the on-demand culture where, you know, you want a car, you call Uber. You want a meal, you do Uber Eats, DoorDash. You know, anything you want, it's like from your phone. I think that we're about to go through a rapid acceleration of technology, and I think that blockchain is really, I don't want to say the most important, because I'm sure people will debate with me, but in my opinion, it's the most important piece of technology um, to pull all this stuff together. And for me, it's the most exciting technology I've seen in my lifetime. And I'm very excited about AI. I think that's very cool. And I think nanotechnology is very cool. And there's a lot of things that are outside of my scope of expertise that I just think, you know, geek out about. But blockchain is the thing that's going to give us verifiable truth. And it's going to connect to businesses and connect people. And I think we haven't even seen what that looks like yet. We've talked about it as an industry, you know, what if this, what if that, but we haven't seen it yet. And I think next year is the very beginning of that, because frankly, it was stifled intentionally. And you know, you know, shout out to Elon for purchasing X, because if he hadn't, we probably would have had different election results. And with that different
Right.
election result would come the crushing blows to crypto in the United States, which would be the end of pretty much all crypto businesses in the United States, where they would go overseas. And it would just be a very sad day for America, I think, in general, because of
Right.
this stifling and all this stuff starting to come out now. But now that we have, I think what I would call like the green light for blockchain to really grow in America, it's going to expand all over the world, because, you know, we're the home of Silicon Valley, which, you know, some of the most talented software engineers from all over the world are coming to. But just in general, I think America has been one of the greatest purveyors of software of all time, and so blockchain naturally should explode here.
Right. Well, it's funny. I use the term revolution often, and I think it's fair to say maybe right now, but I think we'll shift from a revolution, a financial revolution, into a financial evolution. I think it just becomes I mean, again, I'll say I'm broken record here, but it just makes sense, right? It's just verify. It's the extra security. It's, you know, get rid of some of the middlemen. It's get rid of the process. It's true. It's think about it. There's a lot of things that are constantly needing an update, and I mean, the question, why not our money? Why not our current monetary system, which is clearly the most corruptible thing? You know, you want to. I won't go off, but yeah, no, I think I think it started as a revolution, and I think we're quickly getting into the evolution where it just makes sense. It's just, if I want to get better, if I want my business to you know, it's ease and security, and you could really just put a period right after that. It's why do it any other way? Why not upgrade? You know.
Exactly. Upgrade. You know, Coinbase's slogan is, you know, upgrade the system. You know, our slogan really is, you know, the digital banking network, right? I think we need to get our banks and our credit unions up to speed. And I think that's the first big step. You know, upgrade the system, sure, but we already have all this tech. What we really need, what the crypto industry needs next, are bank accounts. Every crypto company needs them. We need interaction with modern payment systems. It's not enough to just slap a widget on a website, because we learned this. You know, can we make free and fast instant payments? Yes, but it really doesn't make the big impact until we have access to the banking world. It won't really make the change until larger fintech and TradFi starts to integrate this stuff. So we, over the past couple of years, have just made it our mission to go after that and to integrate with the largest TradFi systems to find the right pathways. And I just see, I really do think that the network of credit unions is going to be like the perfect marriage of blockchain, because it's philosophically aligned, but also it's just ready. It's really just ready for the the right moment. And with our launch of MetalPay Connect, I see that as a gateway, as a portal to to plugging in credit unions and other banks and TradFis to access it. And from there, the vision with Metal Blockchain, what we're building with these private subnets. The way that I see blockchain going is, in the future, your bank, your financial institution, they're going to have their own JP Morgan Onyx, or a similar version to that that's connected to all the other credit unions, all the other banks. So they will have their own blockchain networks, and those blockchain networks are going to have all types of protections and tooling built in to blend the experience of DeFi, but give you the protection of the credit union, of the bank. And that's the missing part for mom and pop, for everybody to be able to play. Because once we have that, then you can really open it up to the world. Right now, it's difficult because we just don't have the perfect Apple-like crypto experience. We're getting there, but we're going to need TDBN to take the big step.
Wow.
I mean, well said. Well said.
That was incredible. I think we're gonna wrap this up. And that was the perfect mic drop moment, I think, for Marshall to leave us on. I'm aware there are some questions that we didn't get answered. We will bucket those into an Excel doc and keep them saved, and I think we'll come back to them on another space very soon. And we really appreciate everyone's time. Thank you for staying with us. It's a very, very exciting day for Metallicus. I think Paul just tweeted earlier and said, just realized we had three major news events today. Metallicus acquires Bonify, connecting 70 credit unions. Marshall launches verified on-chain voting for the Department of Government and Efficiency. And one low-key thing that just kind of happened today as well is Velodrome, the biggest AMM on the Superchain, and Aerodrome on Base just launched on Metal L2. So we're super hyped about that.
Keep an eye on that, because we should be deploying the incentives that were part of the MetalDAO proposal. So if you are part of the MetalDAO community, definitely one to keep an eye on. We're going to do some more content around this, but definitely take a look at the Velodrome Metal pools and everything that's available on Metal L2. So you can now switch chain and start interacting with the first DEX on Metal L2. It's really exciting.
Let's go. I said we don't sell anything, but I'm going to give you the quick hard sell at the end. What else have we got on? Well, we've got MetalPay 12 days of Christmas. So every day there is a different token available on MetalPay, which has no trading fees. So you only pay the on-ramp fee. We've got the best fees in the industry. I do believe today was Metal Blockchain. And
today was XRP. XRP. But the exciting thing about Metal is we have on MetalPay, it's free trading until the end of the year. So that's an extra special bonus from yesterday's one, which was great. Today, there's also another bit of news with on the XRP, Ripple XRP free trading. We've also enabled deposits and withdrawals. So you can interact directly with Ripple mainnet and do what you need to do. So really exciting.
Thank you, Paul. There's a bunch going on. We've got the interviews are rescheduled. Again, we'll have some very incredible conversations with those, and we have got an action-packed 2025. I think I saw a lot of the questions that you guys had in. Everything is being worked on. A-Chain's on its way. Metal L2 is on its way to Metal X. There's so much stuff coming. As always, we don't tend to give timelines because we like to build things properly into the best of what's required for the industry. So without further ado, I want to give one final thank you to Jackie Treehorn. Thank you very much for stepping up on what has been an absolute mental day. It's been chaos, but it's also been absolutely incredible as well. And I'm so pleased that I got to meet you in Vegas, and that you agreed to hop on and host this with 30 minutes ago. So, that's all what the Metallicus community is about, because we didn't, whatever happened, we were never going to leave you guys in the lurch without a space after we'd hyped it up so much. So appreciate it. And everyone, have a wonderful Christmas, New Year, enjoy yourself. And we'll see you in the new year. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Happy holidays. Cheers.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.